Hi, I'm Don Dodge, and this is Google Root Access. Today, my guest is Jay Simons, president of Atlassian Software. Welcome, Jay.
Yeah, thanks, Don.
So, Jay, developers know what Atlassian is, but maybe some of our audience doesn't. So, what is Atlassian? What kinds of products? What do you do?
Atlassian is an enterprise software company. We make collaboration software used by software teams in other companies to help them build software better. So whether you're an automotive company building the next electric car, you're an investment bank building, a new trading algorithm, or you're, a shoe company building digital devices to track fitness. All of those things involve software, and software is an important key ingredient to how products, markets, industries, the world will innovate.
So Jira is a product that I know about, but there are others. So what is Jira and what do your other products do?
So think about our product portfolio as kind of a three-legged stool. Like any team that's building software needs to do three things. They need to track projects and activity and work. That's what Jira does. They need to kind of share and iterate on unstructured content, ideas, specifications, roadmaps, product requirements, things that actually define what you're going to build and what that work is going to be involved in. And Confluence is the product that handles that. And then because we're talking about software, developers need to share and iterate and collaborate on code and do a number of different things around that code. So things like code reviews or code insight, continuous integration, deployment. That kind of product family is anchored by a product called Stash, which is a management application for the distributed source control system Git.
Great. So developers then are your users.
Developers are a very important group of users, but actually if you think about the modern software team, the developer is actually a very important minority. The group of people that are building software include project managers, key stakeholders that are going to define what developers need to build to begin with, people in support and marketing, documentation writers, designers. There's a whole bevy of people that are involved in actually designing, specifying, building, supporting software. And so our products help bring all of those people together, technical and non-technical alike.
And how are your Atlassian products sold?
Our products are sold over the web. We use the internet basically to reach customers. They're available to customers to deploy both in the cloud as a service or to install and run on their own servers behind the firewall.
And is it a subscription-based thing or license, or how does it work?
The licensing model for the cloud deployment is subscription, either monthly or annual, which is fairly typical. The software the deployment model behind the firewall is sold as a perpetual license with an annual maintenance and support agreement. So
you compete with some open source kinds of products or freemium kinds of products. But you're an enterprise software company, so how does that work?
Well, I would say we compete. We're an alternative to both open source at kind of the bottom end, or at one end, and very expensive traditional enterprise software from IBM and Microsoft and HP at the top end. So things like Rational or even Team Foundation Server. Or HP Quality Center. At the very, very top end, those are products that are millions and millions of dollars a year that typically are sold on a per developer seat basis. And then at the other end, you've got open source products like Bugzilla and Track and Mantis and Redmine. And then there's a bevy of companies in the middle that do various things. I think Atlassian is I think actually the only company that's combined just excellence and discipline in issue and project tracking, content collaboration, and source collaboration. And that's what sets us apart, one thing. The other thing is that we've intentionally priced, in part because of our business model, priced to be affordable and provide great value. And in exchange for providing that great value to customers, we don't have the traditional expensive enterprise sales organization to justify or to support more expensive products at that other end.
So you compete at both ends of the market, and you've priced it so that you can compete effectively with the free or freemium type models, but then you compete with big software companies. Those big software companies typically have technical support and pre-sales and all kinds of consulting and all that sort of thing. So I understand how you can compete at the open source level or freemium level by pricing well, but how do you compete at the high end against these big companies?
By building better product, by investing in R&D. Where those companies have to invest in all the things you mentioned, sales and more support and pre-sales to help explain how their product should work or help compensate for maybe where the product doesn't work like it is, we invest a very significant amount in R&D to make sure that the product can sell itself. Like, we believe that we sell largely to a technical audience and a technical constituent who I think believes inherently that they have the capacity to understand whether this product will support what they need or what their team needs. And we invest a lot in making sure that the product does that. And so, they can spin it up online or they can download and install it. And ultimately, it's going to say, hey, welcome, evaluator. Let's show you around and help you understand whether or not this is going to do the job.
So developers and product managers and project managers are the same kinds of people and do the same kinds of job, whether they're in a tiny startup or in a Fortune 500 company. So I guess in some sense, supporting them, it's the same. You're supporting the users and you don't do anything different for Fortune 500 developers versus small startup developers.
We don't. I mean, companies at very, very large companies have different kind of scale and performance requirements. And so, there is a difference between a company that has 100 people using our software and a company that has 10,000 or 20,000. We built a product to support both ends of that spectrum, which is hard, requires a lot of R&D and specialization and people that understand how to make it scale. And you have to think, where sometimes, like if you build a software with only 10 users, the user picker that you design is different than the one for 10,000. And we have to think about those. I think a unique company needs to think about solving problems for a very large and varied customer base. Like when you're supporting teams of 10 and teams of 10,000, designing a product that supports both ends of that spectrum is I think, a difficult R&D challenge, and one I think we do well, probably better than any other software company I can think of.
And do you handle developer support through discussion forums and FAQs, and how do you do that?
Both. Big emphasis on documentation. And again, if our whole philosophy is around customer empowerment and customer self-service, like we believe in that, and we invest a lot to make that. That doesn't happen organically. You have to consciously invest in making sure that works by building great product, by building great documentation, by thinking about empowering your end user, your customer. We do have a technical support organization. We also complement that with community-based support. And so again, we invest a lot in creating an opportunity for, now we've got 30,000 companies as active companies using our software, and in that group of active companies, millions of end users. So there's a treasure trove of people who actually know how to solve problems either for themselves and might be willing to share that solution with other customers. So creating an opportunity, I think, for customers to help each other is a really important part of a scalable support model, and we complement that with our own technical support organization to dig deep where needed.
Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. This is an interesting topic, and I'd like to have you back to discuss this more in the future, but this is all we have time for today. So thank you for joining us. I'd like to remind you that if you're a cloud developer, we have a special $2,000 credit for Google Cloud. You can see the details of where to sign up for that credit on the screen now. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.